Welcome to the channel. Welcome to today's run through of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. I'm Jamie. Before getting into it, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's jump straight into it. So I've just recorded my reaction to last night. I was busy, been a little bit busy this morning, so couldn't do one. And I know it's not for everybody. So for those that don't enjoy those sort of videos, get involved in the comments. Let me know how you're feeling today after last night. I'm still angry. I'm still fuming. I thought that was up there with one of the worst performances we've witnessed under Ruben Amorim. There's been a few of those. I thought it was just pathetic all around. From the team selection, I thought was cowardly to play with five defenders at home to Everton. I know we've got injuries, but there was other solutions that he could have come up with apart from playing with five defenders. I thought that was cowardly from the manager. I felt the players were, Amram keeps saying about intensity. I don't even think they know what the word means after last night's performance. Was just abject. Our passing was terrible. And then the in-game management as well. When the game was there for the taking against 10 men, shit the bed. And like we always do when we've got an opportunity to get into the Champions League football, it's like we're allergic to it, like a vampire's allergic to garlic. We're allergic to getting into the top four because every time we have the opportunity to do it, we have a nosebleed, shit the bed, and drop off a cliff, and not even just putting in like losing a game. Anyone can lose a game of football, right? Premier League football is tough. Anyone can beat anyone on their day, right? And you've got to be at it. But the way and the manner in which we lost that game, I felt was embarrassing, and there's no excuse for it in my opinion. I felt that from the whole thing was just absolutely miserable from start to finish. Team selection, players' performances, in-game management, the whole lot was just, and we got exactly what we deserved last night. So, but yeah, get involved in the comments. Let me know what you think. The one takeaway that I did have from last night, though, is we need players. We need better players. We need to get the recruit. I think get the recruitment right, and if we can, we need to get some strength in depth in January, and no more so than the position on the pitch that I think most of you will agree with, which is the midfield. So let's go through all the latest there. So now, this came from GE Globo, who are actually a really big South American news outlet. I think they've got like 6.2 million followers, right? Saying that Manchester United are currently in negotiations with Wolves for Joao Gomes for a transfer fee of around £43 million. There is optimism among the parties that the transfer will be completed by the end of the year. So that's two recently we've had two South American news outlets that are both fairly decent as well, suggesting that United are currently in negotiations with Wolves around a deal for João Gomes. However, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. David Ornstein, has sort of dismissed the rumours, saying that there are currently no talks underway between the clubs regarding João Gomes. A January exit could be on the cards if Wolves stay in the relegation zone. So that's interesting from David Ornstein. So David Ornstein pouring a bit of cold water on the fire that's coming from South American journalists around us being in talks and conversations about João Gomes. I think it's a little bit premature to get there because maybe Wolves don't want to sell if there's a chance that they'll get out the relegation zone. So maybe they're going to be dictated to by the results that they have over the sort of festive period and over the run of games we've got between now and the transfer window. But interesting that David Ornstein has sort of not dismissed the fact that they're not looking to sell, which is the other narrative that's been going around with João Gomes. And maybe this could be one of those opportunities whereby if Wolves are still in the relegation zone, maybe they would look to cash in. And I've been thinking about this a lot because if he's got a relegation release clause, can United not just pay a little bit more than that to get a deal done in January? Because you always overpay for players in January anyway. So, maybe there's something in it. And I think we need somebody like João Gomes, somebody with some legs in midfield that can run around and, be aggressive and not weak as piss like we've got some of our midfielders as well. So I do think we need that sort of energetic style of midfielder, and João Gomez is good. Is he is he the a world class midfielder? Probably not, but would he be better? Yes, I think he would be. So that's one to keep an eye on. So coming from, like I said, South American journalist sources saying in conversations, David Ornstein talks are not underway. However, not really ruling out, like not dismissing the fact that there could be a deal to be done there in January, depending on Wolves' league position, which is interesting. Now, there's been another so more quotes from David Ornstein saying that Manchester United hold Elliot Anderson in high regard Adam Wharton is also admired, while Carlos Baleba remains appreciated, though the club's view of him may have dipped slightly based on current season, and I think that's probably about fair from United. So, but again, this is David Ornstein saying that we hold Elliot Anderson in high regard. So we've got Ornstein and Romano the other day. I brought you the news suggesting that, Elliot Anderson, I think Romano was saying Anderson and Baleba as potentially, and if Ornstein's saying Anderson in high regard, maybe there's a little bit iffy on Baleba. Does that, suggest that Anderson is going to be maybe one of the ones that we are going to look to go for, and rightly so. I think he's, out of the candidates that we're linked with in midfield, Anderson would be my number one choice, but we'll be different on that. Yeah, I'm sure you'll have your preferences on that in the comments below. But again, coming from David Ornstein, carries a bit of weight because, in my opinion, he's the best football journalist around, transfer journalist around anyway, suggesting that Elliot Anderson in high regards. Wharton, we know that, and Baleba may have slipped down a little bit of the list because of his current form, which, is what it is, isn't it? That's only right. But there's also been another midfielder that we've been linked with. Now, this is a really interesting profile of player. Now, we have been linked with this kid before as well. So this is coming from Florian Plettenberg. Now, Florian Plettenberg, outside of Germany, I would say to take with a pinch of salt because I've never found him to be very credible. However, in Germany, with regarding players from Germany and German players and so on and so forth, actually, very good when it comes to this. So he is suggesting that Manchester United are looking at this lad. So he's posted saying Premier League sides are crazy about Assan Ouedraogo ahead of next summer. I think that's how it's pronounced. Man United and Chelsea are already scouting him. The 19-year-old central midfielder has 3 goals and 3 assists for RB Leipzig in the Bundesliga, is under contract until 2029 with no release clause, major ambition, earning a place in the World Cup squad. So Florian Plettenberg saying that us and, of course, Chelsea, because, we can't do any transfer dealing without Chelsea being involved, are scouting this lad. Now, we have been linked with him before. I'm pretty sure it was like last year at some point when he was at Schalke, and then he got linked to United and then ended up going to RB Leipzig. And obviously, we know with Christopher Vivell and his connections, that would be, maybe a plausible deal. But, looks a really talented player. I found this report on him today as well, saying Ouedraogo is one of the best young players in his homeland. He is billed as the German Paul Pogba at age 17, was billed as the German Paul Pogba at the age of 17 following his breakout at Schalke. We revealed in October 23 that United and Chelsea were actively pursuing him, while Newcastle and Liverpool were also linked with his services, but Leipzig won the chase. And the teenager has taken his game to the next level since then. He has registered 3 goals and 4 assists in 12 Bundesliga appearances so far this season, establishing himself as a pivotal player for Leipzig boss Ole Werner. And then it goes on to say the Wonder Kid is built for the Premier League, according to Statman Dave. Ouedraogo is 6'3" tall and has the strength to dominate much older opponents. He has great vision and is always thinking about making an incisive pass into the final third. While he has brilliant close control and uses this to take on opponents. In addition to Pogba, Ouedraogo shares clear similarities with Ryan Gravenberch and Kefram Turan, for those that like him. So that gives you a bit of an idea around the profile of player that he is. Now, I don't know so much about the passing, though. So these are his stats on FBref. 19 years old, does play as a midfielder. 11 appearances, 3 goals, 3 assists. That might be a little bit behind as well. But look at those for attacking outputs. Like, if you want somebody that's, a very good attacking midfielder, then holy shit for a 19-year-old playing in the Bundesliga. I think he's been called up by Germany as well, in the top 1% for all of the attacking stats at the top, in the top 93 for shot creating actions. He's a progressive carries, 94 take-ons, touches, progressive recoveries. That's genuinely quite impressive for a young midfielder to be that highly for attacking outputs, chances created, take-ons, and it shows that he is a ball-carrying midfielder because, look, he's in the bottom 2% for passes, progressive passes. I would question his defensive output as well, but if you want somebody to come in that can, drive through the middle and take players on, and you can see why there would be comparisons with Pogba doing that sort of thing, then, this kid looks absolutely outstanding at doing that. At 19 years old, pulling in those sort of numbers is super impressive. But yeah, I would worry about I've not watched him, so I don't know about work rate and stuff like that as well, because sometimes stats can be misleading on that. But I would worry about his defensive input. But if you want an attacking midfielder, maybe he could play as one of the tens, although he's been playing mainly as a central midfielder for RB Leipzig, then looks like a pretty decent shout. But going back to Florian Plettenberg's report, he was saying though that it would be in the summer because Ouedraogo wants to go to the World Cup with Germany, and moving clubs halfway through a season could jeopardize those chances. But again, one to pay attention to and keep an eye on. Very good, very good. Did some research and watch his highlight reels and stuff. Come back, tell me what you think about the kid in the comments below, because he does look pretty decent. But we'll wait and see how it plays out. But yeah, give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Now, sticking with the midfield, Alex Crook has come out saying that United are among clubs keeping tabs on the situation of James Garner, whose current deal is due to expire at the end of the season. Now, that's interesting. I didn't realise that he was out of contract in the summer, in which case that could be an opportunity that you could do in January to, if he's not going to sign a new deal. Everton might decide to cash in January rather than losing him for a free. I don't exactly know entirely his contract situation. I would want to see a bit more credibility though than Alex Crook, but did himself no favor, no harm last night. Thought he was excellent in Everton's midfield. Again, one of these, like when you watch players play against us, I thought that he was. I thought he had a really good performance last night as well. And in terms of, if you're looking for a player to potentially come in for Casemiro in the team, then very similar play profiles as well. Similar on duels, similar on winning possession, similar on ball carrying, similar on forward passes. Garner plays a few more forward passes, a few more key passes as well, but they are very similar, statistically as well. When you do a comparison or a side by side comparison between Casemiro and Garner, obviously younger, quicker, can cover the ground, energetic. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if he'd be like a long-term solution. If you're saying like, Garner or Anderson, I'm going Anderson all day long. But as somebody to come in for squad depth and rotation and, to give us a little bit of something in midfield that we're so missing and lacking at the moment, then, for a cheap January deal, plausible. But again, I'd want to see a little bit more credibility personally than Alex Crook. Not the most credible, we'll say that. But again, interesting option. That could just be agent talk though as well, trying to get a deal or putting his name out there. It could just be recency bias as well, because obviously Garner played well last night for Everton. Let's do a story around United and James Garner. Could be that as well. So we'll wait for a bit more credibility, I would say, before getting too giddy or not giddy regarding that. But give us your shouts on Garner in the comments. Would you go for that? Go for James Garner in January? I don't see, of all the midfielders we're linked with, he wouldn't be my number one choice. But if it's that or nothing, then yes, I would be okay to go for James Garner. But he wouldn't be high on my, list of targets. But who knows? There was a report actually before, wasn't there, about James Garner saying that he's actually, I think it was coming from Graham Bailey. So again, not the most credible source, if I remember rightly, suggesting a similar thing, that he's been well scouted, or he's high on the data analysts at United with the new data setup that they've got up. And apparently James Garner does come up quite high on there. I remember bringing you that report as well, like a while ago. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. Give us your thoughts in the comments below. And then the final story I'm going to go for you is regarding Semenyo. So it's going back to David Ornstein when he was asked directly on what's going on with Semenyo. He said interested clubs are said to include the likes of Liverpool, Manchester City, and Tottenham. I think Manchester United's interest is ongoing, but I don't know of them activating anything at this time. We are not sure of the player's preference right now. I understand Bournemouth are working on targets for that eventuality. If it does happen, they will be prepared. So that's interesting from Ornstein. There were some stories yesterday about Semenyo, and it felt to me a little bit like maybe we're out of the race for Semenyo. But if David Ornstein's saying that the interest is still there, whether we're going to follow up that interest though in January and whether the player would want to come to us, too early to say. I think at this stage, especially if we're competing with Liverpool, City, Tottenham, the player might look at league position and current form and think, well, actually, do you know what it is? I don't want to go and take a risk on United and not be in Europe next year if we're carry on our the form that we did from Everton. Although it's still tight at the top of the table, maybe he would want to go to Man City. if they're, higher in the league and stuff. So yeah, a lot could happen between now and then. So that's interesting that Ornstein's still saying that we are interested still in Semenyo, but don't know whether we're going to be following it through because it is a bit too early for that, isn't it? I think, but we'll pay attention to that one, and I'll bring you any updates as they come out. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. Give us your thoughts on all the other topics discussed in today's video, because it's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer updates. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. See you in the next one.